Welcome, everyone, to Marked Out Radio. I'm Sean.
And I'm Dana.
And I have to say, we probably had our busiest week of the whole year. Is that a fair statement?
Oh, yeah. I'm still recovering.
I think it'll take weeks to recover. And if it wasn't for the fact that we have something coming up this weekend and a big event coming up the following weekend, it really is something crazy. So I guess let's jump right into it. So this is going to be the New York Comic-Con recap show. But before we talk about New York Comic-Con, we did do something last weekend. So why don't we just jump into that? So we were at a, I don't know if I should bleep it or if I should just not say it. We were at a location as yet that we cannot disclose. Do you want to just briefly explain why you don't want me to disclose the location?
I guess to give more context than just me being a psychopath.
Yeah, right.
Okay, yeah, let's explain it.
So we were at a location that we were aware that a bunch of celebrities were going to be. And this location has, and stop me if I'm inaccurate in anything that I say, and this location has a reputation for having a low number of fans who pursue autographs and photo ops. And more or less, we keep that location relative secret. Now, it's not a secret, but we're not going to publicize it because the more fans who show up, the less likely we are to succeed in our endeavors in the future. And would you say that's fair?
Yeah, you nailed it.
And so we were at this location last weekend. We were there quite a number of hours. And I have to say, I was optimistic going in. You were not. And I think
was not at all.
I was proven correct.
Yeah, I was completely wrong. I didn't appreciate the difference, a couple 100 miles make.
So we, bottom line was we had scoped out the location. Our aims were pretty high this time. We were looking for Demi Moore. We were looking for Marissa Tomei. We were looking for, those were the two big ones pretty much. And then there were a couple others who were on the list, on the radar as well. And so first was Demi Moore, and we were like really trying to do some recon, and it was actually kind of funny by the end of it because we had done all this recon and we had tried to scope out exactly where we were going to find her and exactly the best route to take. And when all is said and done, she walked right into the front of the building with almost no fanfare. So pretty much. So we had done some recon on Demi Moore. We decided to go for Marissa Tomei because Demi Moore was taking too long, pretty much, right?
Yeah.
And then I guess we should jump right into the Marissa Tomei story before we go back to Demi Moore. So, I guess Demi Moore will start it because we actually got blanked going in.
Yeah, she exited just to set the stage. There were probably counting us 6 people, I think.
Between 6 and 7 fans.
Yeah, it was 6 or 7 fans. And she gets out of the car and she's holding her tiny, miniature dog, which, funny enough, you didn't even notice.
No.
And she gets out, and it was one of those things, if you've done street graphing, you sort of know these, subtle clues to pick up on. For example, the guards told us all to step back. Mind you, we were on a grassy surface that had, an incline. So they said, step back, just stay right back here, and let her come to you if she's going to come over and sign. Mind you, now she gets out of the car wearing probably, 4-inch heels, something along those lines. She wasn't going to go off-roading in the heels, climbing up this hill. So once they're making you stay in a place where she can't get, saying let her come to you, you pretty much know she's not coming to you. So we watched her get out of the car. We received from her what I took at the time. I took it to be a kiss of death, where she just said sorry. Just like a wave and a sorry. One of the other graphers tried one of the half-hearted, groveling, pleading of he yelled out, I believe I bought your book.
Something like that. What's funny, so these guys, it's funny, because we were trying to be pretty low-key with our items. These guys came up with full-size movie posters clipped to giant sheets of plywood.
Oh, yeah. The plywood, they were...
You couldn't have been more conspicuous. They could have gotten... They should have honestly flown a plane over the building that says, we are here for Demi Moore. That would have been less conspicuous than what we got.
I mean, are you saying a 3-foot photo of naked Demi Moore on the striptease poster on a piece of plywood wasn't subtle?
But it was just funny because we were so worried about making a scene, and these guys made about the biggest scene a person could make. So we
Oh,
we
yeah.
were a little bit demoralized there on the way in. So let screw it. Let's go get Marissa Tomei and come for Demi Moore on the way out. Because we
Yes,
knew
because
Demi Moore was.
nothing is going to pick up your mood like an interaction with Marissa Tomei.
So for those people who don't get it, Marissa Tomei is notoriously, I guess you'd say, sour.
Oh,
She
yeah.
is not friendly, even in conventions. So most of these people, what's really interesting is even most celebrities who are unfriendly on the street will be somewhat friendly at conventions. Marissa Tomei does not play that game. She is
Oh, no.
miserable on the street and she is miserable at conventions. She is just miserable. So, but I've heard that she is pretty decent about signing if you get her in the right setting and whatever. I had just gotten Andrew Garfield on my Spider-Man No Way Home full-size poster, which is, by the way, going to be up on eBay soon because now it's signed by Tom Holland, Andrew Garfield, and I did in fact get Marissa Tomei on there. But I
How'd you
have to
do it?
say, it was not without a little bit of humiliation. So, so we were waiting outside the venue for Marissa Tomei to exit, and we're just standing there. And her personal driver / security guard was super antsy at our presence. She was pacing around. She was acting like we were, I don't even know what. We were just kind of standing there, but this woman was having a fit. So finally, Marissa Tomei just walks out the front door. She walks past, and there's one other dude getting autographs there. And she walks up, and he thrusts an 8x10 in her face with a dead Sharpie. So I'm like, oh, for crying out loud. And she signs, and then I give her my paint pen, and I put my poster in front of her, but it's rolled around a cardboard tube, so you can really only see. And she looks at me, and she kind of like won't take the pen, and she's sort of shaking her head, and she's like, I don't know what this is. I don't know what this is. And I'm like, it's a Spider-Man poster. And then why don't you describe, because we were both cracking up afterwards. She took the pen, she signed it, and then why don't you describe what her face looked like
Oh,
after she
God.
signed it?
Well, basically, when she walked out and like saw us and the poster and all these different like things, her face sort of looked like the way I would imagine the crime scene people probably looked when they entered like the Amityville Horror House, like after the murders. She looked just completely just disgusted and repulsed, and just like if she had like a flamethrower in her hands, she would have charred our remains and just obliterated us. It
She
was
looked
just,
really repulsed is the right word,
yeah.
as if like you spit in her face or took a dump on the sidewalk. It was that level of disgust on her
Yeah, I
face.
thought Vinny pissed her off making her wait for her with her biological clock, but I mean, geez, this was even worse than that.
So,
She,
well, yeah.
so,
It was not fun. It was not a pleasant experience, but she did sign, and she did sign with the markers that I asked her to. So it's,
yes.
on one hand, it's hard to be have sour grapes about it. On the other hand, if you ever received the look from anyone that I received from Marissa Tomei, I mean, I can laugh about it because at the end of the day, I really don't care about Marissa Tomei. And this item, I got it signed to be sold. It's not like, oh, that thing where you don't want to meet your heroes because you'll be, upset when they're jerks. I know she's a jerk. I don't really care. I just want to sell the thing. And and I will. So it was it is what it is. She was a jerk, but I don't really care. And it was very funny, and we had a great laugh about it. And what was really great was immediately after getting Marissa Tomei, we go back to the venue for Demi Moore, and again we were acting like complete lunatics trying to do recon because we couldn't figure out whether she was going to leave the building from the front or the back. Because in recent days, people of note were leaving this venue from the back,
Yeah.
but there was a car wash, a high school car wash happening behind the building. Kids were washing cars, and then a good line. So we weren't sure whether they would bring Demi Moore out the back of the building.
And at
And so
one point, we followed the car that dropped her off, because I mean, any good street grapher worth their weight in gold is going to obviously take note of the license plate number. So we may or may not have followed her empty car into the car wash, where we then decided and weighed and pondered whether they were waiting to pick her up or waiting for the car wash to progress. And once we saw once the suds were out, we
incredibly,
knew
the car was getting a car wash. It was the most bizarre thing.
So we raced back to the front
and we lined up, and so we were pretty close to the door when she came out. So we thought our chances were good, but enter the Russians.
Yes, we had a Russian invasion. I can't believe it.
So people are fascinating creatures, and when faced with social norms that they know they're going to violate, people will resort to all kinds of dirty tricks to act like they're not violating social norms. So we had lined up in order of appearance near the door with the idea that we were not there first. We were probably there fourth or fifth. And so there were people ahead of us, to the left of us, near the door, who were lined up at the door. So then these people walk up, and they were not friends with one of the women who was to the left of us, but they, I guess, somehow surmised that she also was Russian or spoke Russian. So they pulled more or less a chat and cut, but in Russian, where they started speaking to this woman and effectively kind of tried to block us, to push us further down the line.
Yeah.
So like, oh my God, we're gonna have to fight with these people. And they were definitely not graphers. They were more just like buffoons is what they were. But they were definitely being rude. They were definitely being purposefully rude. And you just kind of have to roll with it in those scenarios. And the problem is, and you've been in these scenarios before, you can make a thing out of it, which I know many of our friends who engage in this hobby would make a thing out of it, and which would cause a scene. And when you do that, you could potentially shut down the whole thing. So we so we just decided, let's bite our tongues, let's not say anything, and we'll make it happen.
Yes.
So at the end of it, Demi comes out. She was kind of weird but kind of nice, and she went down the line. Basically, she would either sign or take a photo with each person. So we both got selfies with Demi. A few people got signatures, and then I really tried to get the graph after the fact. And I was very close. But the person right before me was the last person she hit, and then she went in the car. So we did get what we came for. We got the Demi Moore ops. The thing that Dana swore was never going to happen happened, and we got it.
I was wrong. I mean, it's one of the few times you're happy to be wrong. I was extremely happy to be wrong, because she's rare. She is rare. Not many collectors I know have her. I don't think she'll ever do a con. I mean, anything's possible, but if she's like in her 60s already, and she doesn't really show any inclination to even do privates, so I don't think she would ever do a con. But I guess stranger things have happened.
She was weird. But anyway, she did sign for people. She took pictures. She did what needed to be done, and we got. And I would rather have that photo than have some 11 by 14 print from Ghost. So I think we did the right thing.
Yes.
So after that, it was kind of, I mean, that was the excitement. Those two were the big names, But after that, we still were we were on the hunt for Jonathan Groff. If you're familiar with Jonathan Groff, his most famous role was he was King George from Hamilton, which is kind of big. And he's in a whole bunch. He's also in Frozen 17 or something.
Yeah.
Which version of Frozen 3, 2, whatever one? Or the first one? Which was he in all of them or one of them, or do you know?
I think all of them.
Oh, I have no idea. And he was also he was the Agent Smith replacement in the newest Matrix movie, which I'm a decent fan of his, but that was just horrible miscasting, and I will take that to the grave. But I digress. We waited for Jonathan Groff, and by this point, our adrenaline was pretty high. We had received successes all day, and we forgot to mention that you totally failed on Marissa Tomei.
Oh yeah, I didn't print because I was, as you heard last week, pessimistic about everything, and I figured to spend $4 on a print for her to tell me that she doesn't like my cousin Vinny, or some stupid excuse that she makes with all sorts of things. I just figured, let me save myself the $4. And in hindsight, I think she probably would have hit one more. So I screwed myself over. I asked her for a selfie after she signed the poster, already having a pro photo, but figuring why not try anyway. and she kind of just walked away and ignored me. And her security guy, I guess he was, gave me one of the lamest excuses in the book of, oh, she's running late for interviews, which was complete bull. She was running late to get away from the disgusting commoners that she saw on the street with her, a memorabilia from the stuff that made her rich. She was very upset about that, I guess.
So in any case,
yeah.
So we're standing around waiting for Jonathan Groff, and keep in mind both Demi Moore and Marissa Tomei had kind of like entourages. So while we're standing there waiting outside that theater for Jonathan Groff, you notice this is a bizarre move because I was like totally out of it. But you notice someone walk in the theater.
Yeah. Well, when I'm in environments like this, it becomes like it's just like a sickness spreads over me, and I'm like every single person that walks by, I am analyzing and considering and looking and trying to figure if they're someone. And I saw someone enter the theater that I was 99% sure was John Slattery from Mad Men. And this is always an annoying situation when this happens, when you spot someone that you think is who you think it is. And then the people you're with, you ask, like, is that so-and-so? And they don't know who the person is, or they're not aware of who the person is. I always feel like Leslie Nielsen, like during the SummerSlam 94 build when he was like hunting the Undertaker, and he's looking everywhere for the Undertaker and he keeps missing him, and you just it's just not working out for you. So he went into the Slattery went into the theater with his wife. I did my research on my phone afterwards. I found pictures. I saved the pictures on my phone so I could be sure it was them when they exited. Again, that's all very normal behavior to do. We succeeded on Jonathan Groff, and then I broke the news to Sean that I wanted to wait around for John Slattery to come out. Not because
I was already eager to go home by this point.
Yeah.
So to be fair, Jonathan Groff rolled up with no entourage.
Oh yeah.
He just and he's kind of hanging around outside the building. But I mean, fortunately, Jonathan Groff looks like Jonathan Groff, so there's no mistaking who it is. And he was about as nice as could possibly be. And I don't think he could have been more accommodating, right?
No. If we asked him for a hand getting a couch into a pickup truck, I think he would have I have no doubt he would have lended the hand. Like he was
he was really nice.
Tomei.
Yeah, really nice. It wasn't acting like a star in any way, and kind of hung around outside, and was generally unmolested on the street. So then we're standing out there waiting, because now it looks weird because we got Jonathan Groff. He's hanging around outside, but we're still waiting for this John Slattery character. So I was praying to be struck by lightning by that point.
Yeah, so we sort of compromised, and by compromise, I mean Sean went begrudgingly to eat pizza before we returned to continue waiting for John Slattery. And the crazy part about it is I already had John Slattery, so I wasn't that concerned about John Slattery. But what I found out in researching was his real life wife, who he was with. At least I hope. At that point, I'm like, I sure hope he was with his wife. He wasn't like cheating on her with someone else. And I'm waiting for him in the mistress. Yeah. But his real life wife was his television wife on Mad Men. So my mind, of course, went to the idea of, wow, I don't think I've ever seen a group Sterling family / Slattery family photo. So, of course, like any rational person would do, I said, let's go get lunch and come back and wait for this married couple to exit the theater.
We did that.
Yes,
they did exit, and you did get them.
Yes, as you looked like you were about to die in the back. You looked completely miserable and uncomfortable because I was like, you were just sitting on the bench. At this point, you were done. You were on a bench in the corner, just on your phone, probably looking up different ways to like kill yourself just to get out of this whole like waiting process. And I'm waiting in the front of the theater on guard, and they popped out. So I approached, and they were nice, but I think John was surprised I approached him. I assume in general and in that like sort of region of the world, he's not really interacted with in that way very often. He probably just goes around undetected. So I asked him for a photo. He says fine, and he was happy to do it. And the wife kept walking. At which point I had to like sort of say, "Oh wait, no, you too." Which I think at that point your like uncomfortableness even like rose higher. So she like re-emerges and comes back into the frame. They pose. I'm going for like this Ellen style selfie to try to get them both in, when their friend, who I sure hope I don't find out later on was valid too, she offers to take the photo. So I handed my camera off to her. She took the photo. Sean is in the back. If you follow me on any sort of profiles, check out. It's like zoom in. Forget me and Slattery's. That's cool. But like zoom in on in the lower left hand corner where you see Sean. It's hilarious. So the photo was taken. Then we had the awkward point of realizing John Slattery was walking the same direction we were walking. So we made the executive decision not to follow closely behind him. So we let him catch the first light and sort of go his separate way. And then we scurried back to the car, and Sean was freed from the misery.
And that was that. And of course, we had that weird thing where we were walking in the same direction that he was walking because we had to get it was that I also that was bad for me too because then I thought maybe he thinks we're following him.
What? It didn't turn out.
We really didn't want to follow the guy. We wanted to leave, but our car was parked. So all in all, an incredibly successful weekend. Couldn't really ask for better. Maybe if I got the Demi Moore graph, I would have been happier. But honestly, not really. It was great overall. I had a great time. So if you're shopping for autographs, make sure to check out www.markedoutcollectibles.com or our eBay store at Marked Out Collectibles. To contact us for any reason, please email markedoutcollectibles@gmail.com or join the Marked Out Collectibles official marketplace on Facebook. All links are in the show notes on Facebook and Substack, or you can find us on Instagram and TikTok. All right.
And especially do that if you're in the market for a multi-signed Spider-Man poster.
Oh, hell yeah. Hell yeah. I got to wait for my JSA letter to come in the mail, and then that thing is going up. I got a full letter on that thing. Unless someone wants to make me an offer beforehand. $1,000. $1,000, it's yours. No Way Home original one sheet signed by Tom Holland, Andrew Garfield, Marissa Tomei with JSA letter. And you have this great story behind the Marissa Tomei autograph. She sneered at this very poster.
She did.
She didn't even fake smile at it if it was done at a con. She sneered at it. So it has a special bit of magic attached to it. All right. Let's talk about New York Comic Con. So I've been carrying on for weeks about how this is the busiest week of the year, blah, blah, blah. Take off a few days from work, the whole deal. I stand by it. New York Comic Con is one of those shows. I was texting everyone I know saying I'm never coming to the show again. I hate it so much. I hate this hobby. This is the worst. This is miserable. And there were parts of this show that made me absolutely miserable. And also parts that were pretty fun. That kind of happens every year. So I went. You didn't even go on Thursday. I showed up on Thursday. Even though in the last episode I was really clear about needing to be flexible and really trying to kind of take things as they come, I had so much to do that I tried to build myself a pretty tight itinerary based on the announced times for things. So my original plan was to try and get as many autographs as I could on Thursday in between a couple of paid photo ops. That was the plan. And I was really not going to be able to check out much of the show floor on Thursday, which I was okay with. So on Thursday, I get there first thing in the morning. At 10 a.m., I make a beeline when the show opens. I make a beeline over for the Starship Troopers autographing area where all of those cast members would be, including Denise Richards. And I jumped on the Denise Richards line. Now, this was very strategic because Denise Richards is not an experienced, seasoned con guest. And I had made the assumption that she might leave early or she might be difficult with her signing times. And I wanted to get her done as quickly as possible. And I knew that the panel for Starship Troopers was at 1 p.m. on Thursday, but I had a 12:40 a.m. I'm sorry, 12:40 p.m. 12:40 p.m. photo op with the characters from The Boys, who I could keep in my peripheral vision while I was waiting on that Denise Richards line. So I was in good shape there. So I got on that line at 10. Her appearance time was 11 a.m. So she was supposed to be signing from 11 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. Do you know what time she came down for that signing?
2.
Oh, no. She didn't come down at all for that signing, actually. So she showed up at the panel at 1 o'clock. Then she came down for the second session, which was between 3 and 4. She went there between 3 and she left at about 3:30, and she's left. And the group photo op for Starship Troopers was at 4. So I got my group photo op with Starship Troopers. You know, listen, I'm not going to make any comments about anyone's appearance, but you know, Denise Richards, it's clear why she's not a regular con guest. She's just not cut out for this kind of setting. And so I finally, after that photo op, got back in the line. She was supposed to be signing between 4:30 and 6:00, and her agent at the table said she had a hard out at 6:00. Now that line was long. And this is a good example of why having volunteers run these lines is a mistake. And this will dovetail with a couple of different topics that we've talked about. So what happened was that her signing was 4 to 5:30. Now the way they divvy up the lines at New York Comic Con, for every guest, there's a GA line and there's a VIP ADA line. Okay. And with the idea that someone who either has a VIP badge or a medical sticker would go in one line or one lane of the line, and the GA people would go in the other lane of the line. So at approximately 5:30, they cut off the line for Denise Richards, and I was pretty close to the front of the line. But what happened is they only cut off the GA part of the line. They didn't cut off the VIP ADA part of the line. And so, frankly, more and more and more and more ADA people kept going in the line. And so they were effectively jumping ahead of all of us who were in line, and all of the people who had gotten cut off. And so I grabbed the volunteer, and I'm like, if you cut off the line, you should cut off the line completely. This way the people who were waiting could be finished. Or, and I even gave a compromise, I said, or you could cut off the ADA because they're just GA people, right, who have an accommodation sticker, but they can't, you know, they can't wait. It's fine. You cut off the ADA and you want to let the VIP people come through because they did pay a lot of money for the extra privilege. So, those are your two options, but you can't cut off the GA and then let all the ADA people, and then these GA people will never get in. The guy looked at me like I had asked him to write these calculus equations to send the ship to the moon. There was nothing. When I don't mean to be like mean spirited or anything. This guy, he's a very, very nice guy. It's very clear that he was overwhelmed by the position he was put in. He was clearly someone who's not used to having people make demands of him in a professional setting. You know, he was not equipped to handle.
So wait, do you mean the cons don't train effectively the free labor?
They do not. And I really felt bad for this guy because he really was not. He should not have been given that assignment. And you know, and frankly, that whole assignment was a disaster from the beginning. Because what I didn't mention was the other members of the Starship Troopers cast. So Seth Gilliam, Casper Van Dien, Michael Ironside, Dina Meyer, they all showed up, and none of them were given a handler. None of them were given a scanner to scan pre-order tickets. So they were sitting at the table, and they were like, well, it's going to be cash only until we get someone. And it was over 30 minutes before someone came with that stuff for them. There was nothing.
Insane.
So these people now, I mean, look, it was disruptive to the fans, and it was disrespectful to the fans, but it's really also very disrespectful to these people who are trying to make money and who are hired to make money at this show. They can't make money if they are being prevented from doing so. So it was really, New York Comic Con is disorganized, but usually not this disorganized. To have it go a full half hour where a celebrity doesn't have a handler at their autograph table is inexcusable. It's really bad. And so, in any case, I was yelling at this guy. I was admonishing him that he should cut off the whole line. That didn't work. He didn't understand what I was saying. Then he understood it, but he couldn't really answer me. And then finally, thankfully, Denise Richards' handler was like, she'll stay till 6:30. And so at about 6:15, I made it through. She was very nice, honestly. She did whatever you asked, signed the quotes and everything. And then she and I was able to finish my Starship Troopers double-sided theatrical poster. She was making comments about it. It wasn't the usual one she sees, blah, 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 the whole deal. Very nice. But my entire Thursday, more or less, was wasted on Denise Richards, which really, if I wasn't going every day, I would have been livid.
Oh yeah,
But
and that was
I was
the only day you were doing. I mean, talk about like ruins the whole year as far as the con goes.
absolutely, and it was unfortunate. But at the end of the day, so Thursday I ended up getting the Denise Richards autograph, the Starship Troopers group photo, the boys dual photo, and that's it. And then, oh no! And at the very end of the con, I ran over and got Noel Fisher's autograph from Shameless. I wanted to try and get both Shameless guys, knock them out of the way. There was no way. Cameron Monaghan's line was huge, and I had to get out of that. I had to get out of there. And so, and I was finished with that. And so I did get, even though my plan was to try and get the two Shameless guys autographs, I was only able to get the one, but still not a total failure. So Friday you joined me. I mean, I say you joined me, but I barely saw you at all on Friday.
Yeah, we were like two ships in the night. Very little time spent in the same place.
Completely.
But I came in Friday. I had just a lousy morning as far as transportation. The night before, I ended up in the Bronx with my wife's family, which is always a great time. But, the night before Comic-Con, it just was, as far as sleep, it was not the ideal timing. So I think I was running on like 3 hours of sleep that day. And some days I can get by on 3 hours of sleep. That day, maybe it was the combination of the sinus infection I've been battling. I felt like complete dog crap. I was very just tired and just had no energy. And the train was like delayed getting into the station, and then it was delayed in Jamaica. There was a whole bunch of different things that just made it annoying. And by the time I got in, like everyone was already inside already, which honestly is a blessing. I didn't end up waiting the entire weekend. I didn't wait downstairs once in that whole like queue to get in, which is always kind of nice. So I went in. I ended up BSing with you on the line. You were online for Cameron, so that was my first.
So
stop.
I had to get that out of the way. I had to get the Cameron Monaghan autograph to finish my custom dual Funko Pop of Ian and Mickey from Shameless, which is now complete.
Yeah. So I stood over there with you while Ira was in line for the Elizabeth Olsen Pro Up, and once it was getting time, because like that was most of my day. I had a Cameron Monaghan autograph, which I'll get to in a few minutes. I had a table combo I needed to get with Billy West, and beyond that, I was pro op only. I had the goal at one point of getting a Matt Smith and Orlando Bloom autograph, but I knew that both of those things were going to take a lot of time. Their signing schedules were not really conducive with either my pro op schedule or just my desire to stay longer than I had to. So I ended up skipping both of those, and I just did pro ops. So after
those
that,
guys, I have to say, I in making our little schedule for the show tonight, I forgot to put that the scheduling for some of these autograph sessions was downright bizarre. I mean, Matt Smith and Orlando Bloom. Orlando Bloom had 1 2-hour block on Saturday and 1 hour block on Sunday where they were where he was signing, and Matt Smith didn't. They had him work until all hours of the night on Saturday night because they scheduled it so late in the day. So I'm not sure why they do all that, but it definitely was chaotic.
So since you were in line for Cameron Monaghan, how did that experience go?
I sat there. I talked to a delightful gentleman named Daniel from Germany. He flew over. He was flying over for a vacation to New York, and he had made the trip plans over a year ago. And then when he discovered that New York Comic Con just happened to fall in that time, and so he and his girlfriend bought tickets for it, and so we passed the time. I was talking about different aspects of the con. He quickly discovered the outrage of the ADA sticker scam. It was pretty. It was very funny watching him. He's like, "I am German. I follow the rules." It was a really fun. It was a really funny conversation. Really nice guy, and so I killed a lot of time on there. So it went by quickly. I enjoy that idea of making like a con friend, someone you're going to see once and never really see again, and just having those moments to commiserate about various things at the con. That's always amusing to me. So I did that. what else did I do on Friday? I got my Jay and Silent Bob photo op. So here's a pretty fun thing. So I was wearing a shirt that I got at a show a couple weeks ago. This Get Up Kids shirt. This band. I talked about the Get Up Kids on here because I bought the signed stuff from their show. So I was wearing that shirt from that show, and Kevin Smith. When I walked up there, first of all, they were incredibly like animated and energetic, and really they made the photo ops really fun. Smith and Muse. In fact, like it's very different. It's interesting because the Starship Troopers photo op, right? They were in Casper Van Dien. He loves to go big and make the wild gestures and go crazy. So Casper Van Dien was yelling quotes from Starship Troopers. The rest of them were kind of just whatever. And Dina Meyer was cool too. So it was kind of a mixed bag with them. Jay and Silent Bob, let me tell you, they went nuts. They really wanted to make sure that everyone had an awesome, awesome, awesome photo op experience. And so they were, in fact, Kevin Smith's like, I love that shirt. I love the Get Up Kids. And then he hugged me. And I was like, what? I didn't see that coming. I didn't expect it. I don't know if he was just saying that to everyone and hugging everyone. I have no idea. When you got your Kevin Smith photo op in the past, did he hug you?
I never got a hug from Kevin Smith. I'm a little jealous.
So it was wild, and Jay Muse was really cool. in the past couple of shows I've seen Jay used to be incredibly animated years ago, and in the past couple of shows I've seen him, he was a little bit more subdued. He was really, really, really energetic and really happy to see. I think you know what it is. These shows, when they make good money and they're doing well, then they're happier. I guess it makes sense.
Yeah.
Other photo op experiences that we had. The Shameless guys were nice, but the lines were incredibly long for them, so they were trying to push everyone through really fast. But the Shameless guys are really appreciative of all the fans. It was a pretty normal photo op. Any weird photo ops that surprised you?
Well, the one thing that was weird that surprised me was Ira and I were waiting for Walton Goggins from The Shield, from Fallout, and this woman, maybe 2-3 fans ahead of us, like, you know, it's her turn. She walks up to him and she sort of like plunges her face into his like lapel of his jacket, like a child whose father had just returned from like war. Like it was this really weird, like snot-filled like embrace. And you know, the photo op room kind of went quiet for a moment because it's you know, it's strange. Goggins was a pro. He, you know, was patting her on the back and he handled it well. And they took, you know, some semblance of a photo, which I'm sure that woman was, you know, happy with. No matter what she looked like, I'm sure she was satisfied after, you know, that hug. And yeah, that was, if you would have said to me, which guest of today are you going to have elicit a reaction like that from a crazed, like, convention woman, I really wouldn't have guessed Walton Goggins. So, I mean, for that, Walton, I apologize. I didn't know you had it like that as far as getting the crazy reactions, but that was pretty weird. How about you? Anything weird like that?
No, I really didn't experience anything that weird. You know, lots of like women who are really trying to look good for the photo op while their boyfriends stood there like jerks. There's lots of that. It's very funny. There's all this like weird interpersonal dynamics that you see that always make me laugh. You know, people are nuts. But other than that, it was pretty. I mean, you know, I did the photo op with John Boyega, who was really cool, really, really very down to earth kind of guy.
That surprised me.
Why?
That really, his reputation. Like, you know, I get Street and Con are very different. Look at Marissa Tomei, but he's never nice on the street. I know he was supposed to do even private signings. He doesn't do a ton. Well, wasn't there some scandal with one that he like canceled? Or I just didn't get the feeling he would be someone like really receptive to the interaction. But he was like really cool. I was quite impressed.
Yeah, very fun, very very cool guy, very very friendly. And then House of the Dragon, it was very clear they were trying to move through very, very fast. But Matt Smith very much wants to have he deliberately like because the other two guys were like nice but quiet. Matt Smith like is very much is a very larger than life kind of person. He's a big dude. He's actually a bigger dude than I realized. You know, he's a very, very big guy, tall and like very striking in terms of his physical presence. But he really tries to he comes like claps you on the back. He's he really tries to like make a one-on-one connection with the fans, and you can. I understand why he draws a huge crowd. He's very very charismatic in person.
When you
Very, very
master, not to go on a tangent, but when you master the ability to make a one-on-one experience for every encounter, that's when you reach like a Matt Lillard type of place where you have people that will come meet you every single show. And he's in that type of a caliber where he gets people every single show because he's that cool, he's that dynamic, and he knows how to work the game the right way.
Yeah, but I really had no idea that he was like that because I don't really know him from anything but House of the Dragon. I really didn't, and he's pretty muted on that show, so I really didn't. I had no clue he was like that, and it was very interesting to watch him interact with people.
Yeah, and something else that was weird that I just thought of from WandaVision, Marvel's Paul Bettany, Ira and I split a photo. Now, for people that are not up on the whole, like the way typically you split photos, it's usually that one person goes on one side of the talent, the other fan goes on the opposite side of the talent. So then you're able to crop. You crop the photo down the middle. Well, not down the middle, of course, but you crop one side and the other side. And you each have like two basically full photos. So we get into we're next up. We tell the girl, she's like, how many for the photo? We said 2, which is a standard thing at every. I was probably saying that in my sleep with how many photos I took that weekend. And in something I've never experienced in all my years, the girl says, okay, both of you have to go on his right side. No one can be on his left. So Ira and I kind of look at each other. And, at that point, what are we going to do? So we both get on the right side. I go in the center. He goes on my right. And I know people like Class 316 would have an aneurysm, but I mean, for things like crops and different, stuff like that, I'll work some magic in Photoshop to make them look a little cleaner. So Ira ended up okay in the end, but that was weird.
You didn't go for a switcheroo?
No, I don't even know what to make of that. I joked with Ira when we got out the other end. I said maybe he's got like a Morgan Freeman, like prosthetic hand or something that he doesn't want it to get bumped and fall off. Like, I don't get it. Like, does he think someone's going to grab his ass? Like, I don't know what the hell he thinks is going to happen, but like, you can't go on. That's weird. I've never seen a male talent have such a weird request. I actually have to do some research from past appearances he's done. If this is like a thing he always does or some weird thing he did here. But
speaking of weird, and I asked you this at the show because I have a hard time explaining this to people, a hard time even articulating it. But all of these people, when you meet them, and I can say whether it was the Shameless guys, whether it was the Starship Troopers people, Matt Smith, John Boyega, Jay and Silent Bob, they all give off a certain kind of a charisma where you say, okay, I understand why this person is in show business. They give off a certain energy, a certain vibe that is very, very unique that normal people don't have.
Agreed.
That's fair, except for one guest at this show that really threw me for a loop, and that guest is Orlando Bloom. And Orlando Bloom gives off the strangest energy I've ever experienced. He comes off as deeply uncool. And I almost wanted to describe, first of all, he doesn't, when you meet him in person, he doesn't look like Orlando Bloom on TV. It's hard to explain because obviously is the same person, but he comes off, the energy and the vibe that he gives off is nothing like the vibe that he gives off in his work.
No.
He comes across almost like, and this is going to sound crazy, but like a Wish.com Justin Timberlake. That's how he comes across. And it's very strange. It's very off-putting. And like during the photo ops, he's incredibly awkward. It's not like it was actually uncomfortable how he was like trying to figure out how to situate his head or how to place his hand, or like he was really like conscious of all of these things. And it's not like he was conscious of doing it and then it looked good. He was conscious of doing it and then it looked weird and bad. Yeah. And every photo op with Orlando Bloom looks weird and bad. And there's no other way to say it. He's just a strange dude.
Yeah. Like when Ira and I were walking up for the photo, he was standing there. We were both going to go in the middle. He was going to be in the middle. We'd go on either side. And he I don't even know how to really describe it, but he moved in such a way where we ended up doing like that aisle 6 shuffle, like in the supermarket, where like you go left and he goes left, and you're stuck in that weird little vortex for what feels like minutes sometimes. And
Yeah.
that's what he was doing. And then finally he's like, "Oh, I'll just go in the middle." And I felt like saying, like, no shit. Where else would you go? On my shoulders? Like, of course you're going in the middle. And like,
And
he
what's
meant
funny
well.
about
He
that
meant
is,
well,
yeah, I mean,
but
I also did the shuffle with him, even though there was nowhere to go. He's just weird.
Yeah.
He's just weird, and he's very awkward, and it's just not what you expect. It's just not what I guess that shows you, though, that there is a lot of smoke and mirrors in Hollywood.
Yeah.
There is a lot of he's just not what you expect. There's no other way to say it. He's just not.
Let me spin this now negative into a positive, make it a compliment. Here, I always assumed you see him in, Pirates of the Caribbean and different movies. I just assumed he was, a good-looking dude who, was cool and just played himself. That would have been my guess. He just sort of played himself. He wasn't the greatest actor, but seeing how he is in real life and then seeing him in these movies, he's actually a much stronger actor than I ever would have given him credit for.
Absolutely. Even thinking about Lord of the Rings, right? So his normal face, his non-acting face, is this like weird perpetual squint, right? He's always squinting. Yeah. And yet in Lord of the Rings, his eyes are open like saucers. You gotta wonder, is that like Peter Jackson yelling at him, "Open your eyes, open your eyes"? Like, I wonder, because both at the photo op booth and at the autograph table, his eyes are squinting all the time. It's very strange. The Orlando thing, the Orlando Bloom thing is I have no other word. It's bizarre. The interaction was bizarre. The experience was bizarre. I have nothing more about it. It was just weird.
Yeah.
Did you get any autographs at this show or no?
I did. I got 2. I got my Shameless print signed by Cameron Monaghan, which I decided not to get Fisher. This was a season 1 print. He was sort of a footnote character in season 1. I figured, why spend an extra $60? So I did that. I'm happy with the decision.
And that was the print that you had gotten done by Bill Macy at that show we went to.
Yes, signed by Macy as well. And when I got up there, the handler was like shocked I had Macy, wanted to know where I got him. So I told her it was like a screening event. She said how he doesn't really do much of anything like this, and I agreed. And then I got up there with Cameron, and he was, making conversation. I'm not sure about your experience. He was, very like talkative. He seemed like he's one of the ones that tried to give everyone a bit of an experience. And he remarked about how Macy sort of signed in his spot. He's like, he had all this space to sign. Why do you have to sign where I'm supposed to sign? And I said, without really thinking, I just looked at him and said, I guess Macy wanted to be a dick. And Cameron looked a little surprised that I called Macy a dick. I think if you work with him and if you've met him, that's not who he is.
He's the nicest guy ever, pretty much. Yeah.
He found it funny. He was cracking up, and then he signed like right above him, and it looks fine. So that was nice. And then from there, I moseyed over to the Billy West booth. I finally got Billy West. And first of all, every time I've seen Billy West at a con, I've seen like his banner. I've never actually seen him because his line's either too big or he's gone. Jeez, that banner's out of date. Billy West looked like he was like left in the sun too long and like it was just melting. He looked really weird.
I mean, he's an old guy.
I guess that's the thing with a voice actor. I was never aware of how old he was. When I got up to him, I thought, holy cow, I did not realize he was this like old. I would have had a lot more, urgency getting him.
Billy West is 72 years old.
Oh, damn. Okay.
I know. You don't realize it because for the longest time, I think he stayed young looking into his 60s.
Yeah.
And then the age hit him all at once.
Yeah, I guess he kind of got Shatner. Shatner's got that melting look right now. It's natural, I suppose.
I mean, I love Billy West. He's always really, you can engage. He has like a very, very quick wit. He's very funny. If he gets the sense that you are like a real fan who knows all his stuff, he'll hit you with weird lines. He hits you with things. Did you have anything funny from him or not really?
Oh yeah, he did the Doug voice, and he made Doug started cursing. I'm not gonna do an exact quote because you'll have to bleep it all, and he did. I was like legit. There's nothing like poor preparation, so I'm like on the line looking on eBay to see different quotes, like like what are some famous Doug quotes that people put on Funkos that look good, and I really didn't see any. So I was like next up, and I figured screw it, whatever. So I asked for a signature and a Doug character name, and he threw in, which I assume is his regular, but it was nice. He wrote, "Dear Journal, hi, it's me, Doug," and then he did the signature. So
Yeah.
that was nice.
He's awesome, and Billy Weiss is a great guy. I made a little faux pas when I went to his table. I was like, "Yeah, I'm really sad that they canceled the new Ren and Stimpy project." Like, they didn't cancel it. What are you talking about? They didn't cancel it. I get, because that project was announced in 2020, and it's canceled. It's been in the can for years. There's no plans to release it. Paramount has come out and said they're not going to release it. So I don't know what. Whatever. I should have asked, like, Billy, did you get paid for it? At the end of the day, that's all that matters. But there was a whole scandal with that, because that was after there was that documentary about Ren and Stimpy where the creator John Kay of Ren and Stimpy got accused of. Well, I mean, he didn't get accused. He did. They documented how he had a relationship with underage girls and all this stuff. But it kind of ruined the opportunity for Billy and for Bob Camp, who tried to revitalize their careers a little bit. But Billy's a great guy. He's really funny, really quick. Really great guy. So
it was a nice experience.
I got a couple more autographs from you. I got Fisher. I got Monahan. I was tired. I wanted to get out of there. I also got Matt Smith. I got him to do a quote from House of the Dragon on my House of the Dragon Funko. I got Fabian Frankel. I got him to do quotes. His autograph's horrible. Oh my god!
Oh my god! I think that might be worse than Tiara James.
It's bad. It's bad. It's bad news. It looks like two little stars. It sucks, but it was fine. At the end of the day, I don't care. I got who else? Orlando Bloom. I got. I think, is that it? I got Bob Camp. I get Bob Camp every year at Comic-Con. I'll get him on something, because I was a huge Ren and Stimpy fan as a little kid, and so I got him to draw, because he advertised that he would do remarks on your items, so like little sketches. So I asked him if he would do a remark on a Funko, and he's like, "Sure, why not?" And he didn't even charge me more than he would to just sign it.
Wow!
So he drew a Stimpy on the side of it, and it was cool. So.
Nice. Back to Orlando Bloom. Didn't you have a bit of a uncommon success?
Yeah, so Orlando Bloom, again, he's strange. He's known for being strange. He doesn't really do quotes. And he very much is like very flippant with people's items. And so I guess when he was signing this guy's stuff, he thumbprinted it. It was a Funko. He thumbprinted it. And the handler, it's funny because Orlando Bloom didn't even realize what happened. The handler was like, "Oh my God, we have to fix this." And she ran to grab what do you call that? Hand sanitizer to wipe it off and redo it. So in doing that, he had this guy's item. And then this guy's kind of staying there awkwardly waiting. And so I was up next. He's like, "I might as well do yours." And I gave him mine. He signed it. He did the character name. And then I asked him to put 42. And 42 is the number of kills that Legolas has in that battle in Lord of the Rings, it's like a famous exchange between Legolas and Gimli, where they both have 42 kills, and Gimli kills a dead body that was Legolas kills a dead body that was squiggling, and it's a whole thing. But anyway, 42 is the big line. And so I'm like, can you write 42? And he looked at me, and he kind of just did it. "You were 42, put an exclamation point." So he did do it, which is unusual. I also was able to get a free inscription. I gotta say, John Boyega, his handlers were extremely disorganized. Very nice guy, but very disorganized. And so, for example, he was 80 for flats, 120 for premiums. So on his sign outside, it said 80 for flats, 80 for Funkos, 120 for premiums. So we all paid. Online, it was 80 for flats, 120 for premiums. There was no Funko option for 80. So I paid 120 for premiums. I was mad. So when I get up to the table, they had a different sign that didn't have the Funko line. Just total disorganization. They had a sign that said $50 for quotes. But there was no one asking to collect for the quote. There was no mechanism by which you could even pay. It was so disorganized. So it was chaos. So I thrive on chaos like that, because I know chaos is when, by the way, pro tip, as a con goer, chaos is where you can thrive and get free stuff. That is just true. When you sense a table is run chaotically, that's an opportunity for you to get what you need to get. So I knew it. I know they were taking advantage. They weren't paying attention. So I had my quote. I used the tape trick. I put my quote on a piece of painter's tape on the item, so you just see it. And he wrote the quote out and laughed about it, and so it's a good one. And we had a great experience there. So I didn't pay the extra $50 for the quote, but I feel like I paid more for the Funko anyway, so it all came out in the wash.
Yeah.
And then I also on Friday, I think it was Friday. I know we were fretting about this because in a previous con, what con was it? It was Contropolis, New Jersey. I had bought a bunch of stuff to get done by Spencer Grammer, who's Summer from Rick and Morty, and she no-showed that con. She canceled a couple days before, and she's at this one, but she's also at Rhode Island in 2 weeks. Now I have a rule: do not put off what you can get done today. So it's the opposite of procrastination. And so I was like, I'm going for Spencer Grammer. Hopefully I can make it. So I was done by Spencer Grammer was only signing from 11 to 1 on Friday. And Cameron Monaghan, I didn't get out of his line until 12:15. So it was a tight squeeze. So I ran upstairs thinking I was not going to make, I thought I wasn't going to make the line for Spencer. She had no line. I walked right up. And of course they upcharged the hell out of me. I didn't even tell you this. So it was like $40 an item regular, $50 an item if you wanted Funkos, and an extra $10 per item if you wanted quotes. So they hit you at the end.
To be fair, though, wasn't that what the other Rick and Morty people were charging at Contropolis? Wasn't there like a quote upcharge and a Funko upcharge?
There was, but
yeah,
there was, but you feel gross about it. So, and she was very, very nice, and she did everything I had because as a rule, when I'm paying for quotes, that means I'm getting my money's worth. We're doing paint switching, we're doing colors, all kinds of, I'm not. If you're going to make me pay, then I'm going to make you work. That's how it works. So they look great. She was really cool. It all worked out, and I finished. I was able to get her knocked out of the way on Friday, which gave me some opportunities to walk the con floor and actually observe what was going on. So other than that, my con was pretty uneventful. I had a couple. I noticed we had discussed in the previous episode that. DMC from Run DMC, Darryl McDaniel, it was a debate as to whether he would sign merch. Well, this time around, he was signing merch at his comics table for $50 an item. But did I say that what I texted you? 50 an item or
you
40
did,
an item?
You did.
Yeah, 50 an item. And so it's one of those things where I go to his table every year because I would love to get stuff done from him. And he never signs merch at his table. So of course this year he did. So.
And I wasn't prepared, but next year, and now you can tell the listeners what you told me before, because now I'm doubling it. Now I'm doing it on the air, so it's really real. Next year, I'm going to come prepared.
I walked by Daryl's table and I text Dana, Daryl's doing merch, and Dana said, "Well, I'm going to be prepared next year." And then my exact response was, "You've now condemned him to death." So.
Oh yeah. Something's going to happen to him. Something will happen. Hopefully not. Daryl, if you're listening, be very careful this year. Watch your step.
He'll become a double amputee or something, unable to sign. But it was one of those things where he was doing it. I didn't get any other. I walked by. So this is kind of funny because we were joking about the wrestling tables. I was walking by the wrestler tables. I saw Mick Foley sitting on his hands. I saw Rikishi sitting on his hands. I saw Joe Hendry begging for no recognition from anyone. He was totally not a whisper of interest in him. Booker T was doing all right, but Booker T was doing all right like for Wrestling Con traffic, but for Comic Con, I don't see how they're making any money on there. You said you saw some people got photos with Zilla Fatu, right? But I mean, I just can't imagine they made back the asking price with these guys.
Yeah, I don't know Zilla's current asking price, so I can't play mathematician here and try to figure out how they did big picture. I will say, while I was there with Ira wants to get Zilla Fatu, so I just sort of tagged along for just to observe and to kill boredom. And he had a couple fans in front of Ira. I saw, because he's good like that, he'll share all like stories that tag him in it. there were a number of photos he seemed to sell. I don't know, with Booth and with his fee and everything else, I don't know if profit was realistic, but I mean, he seemed to do far better than Hendry. He did better than Rikishi.
I'll tell you,
Rikishi, now,
I saw Jake the Snake and Hacksaw Jim Duggan doing no business.
no, it's rough. You have these people, you have these guests, and the prices have gone up. And I mean, honestly, what I saw that may have been even more depressing than even what you described with Jake the Snake and Hacksaw Jim Duggan was the booth with the Power Rangers. I walked by that booth on Saturday.
Oof, that was rough. I saw it.
You're talking upcharged $100 combo, $120 premium combo, and it's like no one was even looking. They were down some crappy like aisleway that they were they were across from some stupid like t-shirt vendor. It was like nothing. It was just no man's land, and I felt it was like that feeling you used to get walking by Virgil, but like worse. Like it was just sad. There was not a whiff of money in the air. There was just desperation and loneliness.
I'll tell you, I forgot to even tell you this once. I walked by Sergeant Slaughter's booth, right?
Yeah.
So it was one of these moments that you can only experience at a con. So there is a two middle-aged people, and they were there with their daughter, who was profoundly disabled in a wheelchair. And the daughter really was, I guess, a fan of Sergeant Slaughter, and she really wanted to meet Sergeant Slaughter, and she really wanted the Sergeant Slaughter Funko Pop. And so she said, I really want the Funko Pop. I really want the Funko Pop. And, I remember there in days gone past, there was some flexibility or some, generosity given to people with significant disabilities, And so this girl asked, oh, how much is the Funko Pop? And Sarge, God bless him, Sarge looks over and is like, the Funko Pop with the autograph is $120. And I almost died right there in the aisle. I just almost spontaneously combust because $120 with the Funko Pop is offensive. There's no other word for it. It's offensive. It's so beyond what he should be charging. And then he walked right, and then they wheeled right by because there was no way that they were paying that. And he was next to I guess he was with Major Pod. He was attached to Major Pod.
Yeah, because he has the big rubber guy.
Yeah, so Major Pod was. Let me tell you, they were doing no business either. Nothing. Wow. The guy was like, because the guy was trying to get me to look at their big. I have to say, I looked at some of their hand painted prototypes for upcoming figures. They look incredible. They look incredible.
They're sick. They are absolutely sick. I fight the urge on a daily basis, literally, to start.
Now I will say, hot take: the finalized versions do not look as good as the prototypes. They're a lot less detailed,
though, isn't it?
Yeah, but they're depends. They're a lot less detailed, but they look amazing. So they were selling the Sarge, I guess exclusives for like $100. It was like $60 just for the figure, and Lord knows what he wanted to charge to sign it. Probably $90, some insane number. But they weren't moving them.
No,
they were not moving them.
If Sarge wants to keep charging prices like this, he has to at least install like speed bumps in front of his table to slow down the
wheelchairs.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, it was. Yeah, I really felt bad because you have this one of those moments where this girl's like, oh, I love Sergeant Slaughter, and now I'm not saying he has to give it away, obviously not, but $120 to sign that is ludicrous. There's no other word. It's absolutely unhinged, that price. So it's so untethered from what it's really worth.
Yeah, it's like at least hit the person with a reasonable price, not the super special con.
At the end, Sarge got nothing from that.
Yeah,
I question whether they made anything. The prices were so high, I can't. They get what they deserve. If they lose money, I'm happy.
Out there. Like one thing I noticed, and listen, I mean, it's probably maybe it's mean spirited for us to say that, but I mean, I agree with what you just said. Like you're charging prices like that, I don't feel any sympathy. Like Rikishi, and this isn't an indictment on this show, this vendor, whatever. Rikishi's prices in general have skyrocketed everywhere he goes. And when I walked by Rikishi, he had nobody. I walked by several times, so I was lost trying to find something else, and he had nobody. And what I noticed, which I've never seen before, Rikishi was on his feet the whole time. And typically, he doesn't get up. He doesn't get up for photo ops. He doesn't get up, period. He sits down as you would expect a guy his size to do. He's sitting down and he's doing his business. But he was standing upright, which, again, it makes sense because if you've been to New York Comic Con, those aisles are crowded. Anyone sitting down, you're not seeing. So him standing up actually made himself visible, and it didn't seem like it was helping. Joe Hendry, as we said, I saw one fan near him. I didn't see very many on social media. I saw a handful, not a ton. Maybe I take a little bit of pleasure in that after the trash he was talking about the whole my audacity to have a couple major bendy bubbles signed. But I digress. I still have some stock on Joe Hendry, so I hope he has great success and I can make more money. But it does bring me a little bit of joy to see him standing there alone.
It's the whole thing is amusing that some of these guys, they're just so delusional.
Oh yeah,
about what their value is.
And wait, before we get too far down the rabbit hole, just like delusional, just crazy behavior. For the first time in my life, I got into a fight with a cosplayer.
I don't even know how to respond to that.
I didn't know how to respond. I did know how to respond to that, but then I weighed my options. To set the stage, I was leaving the Cameron Monaghan line, and I was making my way over to the Billy West line. And this was like in the center of the room where the autographs are. You have one side of the room, the other side of the room. I had to make my way to the other side of the room to go over to Billy West. There was some line. Maybe you know what it was. There was a line that was sort of splitting the room. It was filled, it looked like mostly with cosplayers that weren't getting autographs. I'm not sure what the hell they were waiting for, but there was a line. And anyone that's been in crowded situations before, I think, unless I committed some faux pas I'm unaware of, to get through a crowd like that, you kind of look for the person in line that's not super tight to the person in front of them. And you calmly and politely sort of move between the line, correct? Is that like a rational thing to do?
That's it?
Yeah, that's what I did. So I'm making my way through. I crossed through. I didn't bump or step or anything. And I hear, honestly, this is coming from a person who was looked at by Marissa Tomei as if I had just shit on her grandmother's bed. Like I just experienced that the week before. And I was still taken aback by just like the complete disrespect in the tone of what the cosplayer said. The cosplayer yells at me something to the effect of, "Couldn't you have walked around instead of cutting through the cosplayers?" And it was said with just complete disregard for politeness. It was just rage filled, just so angry. And my initial response that was formulating, it was on the tip of my tongue, was going to be, did you cosplay as a certain 4-letter word that involves seeing someone next Tuesday? That's what I was going to say. Not a good thing to say, but I figured it felt fitting. And then I had the wherewithal to realize that I think in 2024, that probably violates a handful of the etiquettes of what you're supposed to do at a convention. And I realized I had far too many pre-orders to stand up for myself like that. I couldn't do such a thing. I had to think of the pre-orders. So I thought of the pre-orders. So I got Billy West, and then I proceeded to sort of zigzag through the line of cosplayers just to annoy her. She looked really pissed off when I was doing that. I kept cutting side to side to side right in front of her just to annoy her. Granted, I look like the idiot, but I did it, and I didn't get thrown out.
So there you go. Yeah. I did not get into any fights with any cosplayers.
Maybe next year.
There's always next year, Yes. I think one of the things that it always strikes me about certain fans is they have no idea, they have no regard for the fact that everyone is there for different reasons and everyone kind of has their own places to be in. Everyone thinks that what they're doing is really important. And part of being a good citizen at these things is you realizing that what you have to do is really no more important than what the guy next to you has to do. And so you all kind of work with each other to make everyone's lives easier. And there are some people who just don't do that. So you'll see people, for example, they want to pose for photos right in the middle of walkways. And you're like, walkways, forgive me, are for walking, not for
Yeah.
posing for photos. There are places where you can stop. We have a little more room where you should pose for photos. In the middle of walkways, you can't really get through. And you'll see people in wheelchairs and stuff like that where they really can't get through because people are standing there taking photos, not paying attention, carrying on. And it's just a little bit of generosity and grace towards other people just goes a long way.
It does.
So yeah.
Because, like, even what you described with the walkways, 9 times out of 10, I'll even try to, like, I'll either slow or accelerate my stride if I see someone's about to take a photo, or I will, sometimes I'll bob and weave for like a split second if it'll stop me from just completely just ruining someone's shot, even though I really don't owe them that because they're being inherently disrespectful to take up the walkway. I'll try to, coexist to just make an overall smooth experience for everyone. But yeah, I mean, people just don't have any regard for that, it seems.
So I mean that's what that is. You're not going to change that by the behavior. But I did have really good news that happened from this show. So last year I won a raffle. So I'm a big fan of, I don't know if people have seen the old cartoon The Boondocks. It was created by this guy Aaron McGruder. It was really, really funny. But there's this clothing company called Decryptic. And they license a bunch of properties, but their main property is the Boondocks. And they sell kind of like streetwear with the Boondocks on it. Now, I'm not going to lie. I am not the primary demographic of these things. I probably couldn't wear these things in public. I would be ridiculed. It would look ridiculous. But they're cool looking stuff. And I really like their stuff. They're cool. So every year they have various raffles and things. And I always enter and I never win. Well, last year I won a raffle for an autographed Boondocks hat, autographed by Aaron McGruder, the creator of Boondocks. And I was super pumped. Aaron McGruder is a very rare name. His autographs go for a ton. He doesn't really do appearances. He's known for being kind of aloof and doesn't really, make public appearances. So I was excited. So I get the email that I won this thing. You send me your address, blah, blah, blah. I do. I send them my address. A couple weeks later, I get in the mail a hat that is not autographed by Aaron McGruder. It's just a hat. So I'm like, just my good luck that I win a contest and the prize is not delivered properly. So I email them and I'm like, listen, I hate to be a pain in the neck, but this hat is not signed. It's unsigned. What happened? And they were all apologetic and falling all over themselves. I'm so sorry. Just send us your address again and we'll send you another hat. And I heard nothing. And it's like a month after that, I sent them a follow-up email. Hey, did you forget about the hat? Something to that effect. And I heard nothing.
Was it strongly worded?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't strongly worded. It was weakly worded, if I'm being honest. And I received nothing. So then a couple months later, after that, I'm like, I had to resign myself to forgetting about the damn hat. A couple months later, I get an email from them saying, oh my God, we're so sorry that your last email went to our spam. We'll send out the new hat right away. And then I received nothing. So honestly, before that last email, I was not going to do anything about it. After getting the last email, though, I was a little bit annoyed. And so I had determined the answer to my issue. And by the way, I had left comments on a few of their Instagram posts about this issue, and no one ever replied to me. And so, a little passive aggressive. So this show, I walked up to the booth and I said, who's in charge? And they directed me to this guy. He was behind the booth, and he came out. And I'm like, listen, I don't want to make a problem here, but I won your contest last year, and they never sent me the prize. And he's like, wait, and he knew the story. So clearly someone had told him what happened. And he's like, they never sent it to you? Are you kidding me? He's like, I know which one of my employees was supposed to do that. I can't believe they didn't do it. And he started getting like mad. And I felt bad then because the other employees who were watching this were a little bit like, because now they realized what was happening. And he's getting mad. I know who did this. This is unacceptable. I run a tight ship. I'm so sorry. And he walked over. He's like, pick whichever hat. They had other autographed hats on display. They don't sell them. They like display them. He's like, pick whichever one you want. And so I picked one, and I got my autographed hat by Aaron McGruder. So I brought it home.
Also, you probably got an employee fired. I don't think Captain Kangaroo ever succeeded at that.
I really felt bad. Anyway, it's a stupid hat, but I was, it's a weird thing to communicate with someone by email and then just not follow through.
No, but you were completely in the right.
And he made good on it. He was very, and I was not like mean, or I was more like, this is a mistake of some kind, I guess, and at the end of the day, it was fine. I got my hat, and so it made it worth it. That I did that on Sunday. On Sunday, because I had to go in just for the House of the Dragon photo op because I couldn't switch it around. I was supposed to get the She's All That group photo, but Freddie Prinze Jr. canceled again. He canceled again. Actually, he didn't cancel. Excuse me. He no-showed again. I heard someone say he posted something in a video. Did you see any video?
I don't think I even follow him, to be honest.
I mean, I obviously don't follow him, but I was looking around. I couldn't find a video. So either way, I mean, I am not surprised. I joked about Freddie Prinze canceling. Freddie Prinze has canceled this con a million times, or like 5. I think the only con he ever goes to is Star Wars Celebration. Because I think that when you do a Star Wars movie, they work it into your contract where you have to. So it's a little bit of a different thing than this.
Oh, it's bizarre. The whole thing is bizarre. He continues, and if he's, I think I've definitely seen him make some level of acknowledgement towards the appearances. Like, it's not like a situation where he doesn't know he's booked. It's just like a scam. Like, he knows he's booked. He just chooses then to either cancel or just no show.
And I'm going to be honest, I feel bad for Rachel Lee Cook here. She's not a big star.
No.
Her ability to make money at a show like this is entirely linked to him. If those dual photo ops, she gets paid per. And so mine, I canceled. I got a refund. She loses money for that. She would have been paid for that. And I'm sure there were other people like me, lots of other people in that boat, who would pay for the dual, but I'm not paying for the single with Rachel Lee Cook because I already paid for her previously at a different con. And Rachel Lee Cook is the nicest. She is so sweet. She is so fan friendly. And it's like, here's a guy who's significantly more rich than she is. He's significantly more successful than she is, and he's costing her money.
Oh, yeah. She's not, in and of herself, and I don't mean this in a negative way, she's not an NYCC, like, autograph alley name. She's not.
No, she's not.
Same way at Rhode Island, she's never on the ice. She's up in that, like, hotel area. Like, that's where she, like, so you have her. She was booked, and she came in expecting the Freddie Prinze dual like appeal. She lost she lost most of that draw. She must have had a terrible weekend.
I bet that she from his no-show cost her personally out of her pocket close to 5 figures.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And which is really, really, really lousy. And I wonder if he even thinks about it like that. I mean, it really stinks. And of course they'll hesitate from booking that again because I think it's a cool reunion. Is that a great movie? No, it's kind of a fun movie. It's a very emblematic of that era, and so I even though I don't love the movie or anything, but I do. It holds some special memories. There's some funny lines. There's the hacky sack scene that everyone loves. There's what's his face? The Culkin, young Kieran Culkin is in there.
I'll be honest, I don't think I ever saw it.
I mean, you have very fascinating blind spots with movies like that, but it's a very big. It was an entrant in that teen comedy craze that started in like '99 with American Pie and went all the way through about 2002 or 2003. It was just one after the next of these teen comedies. American Pie, Can't Hardly Wait, She's All That, Drive Me Crazy, 10 Things I Hate About You, all these movies that were just boom, 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 one hit after the other. There were these very low budget movies that made a lot of money. And there was I guess you could really trace them back to Clueless. Clueless was 96. It was a little earlier, but it started that movement. And then
that whole genre, yeah. See, I know some people get mad when these people cancel, and I'm not talking, when I say some people, I don't mean showrunners. I understand why a showrunner would be hesitant. But me personally, as a fan, I don't adhere to the whole fool me once, shame on you type of thing. Like, fool me a million times. Keep booking this person. If they ever show up, I'll get them. If they don't show up, well, keep trying. I'm never deterred in that regard.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say mad, but is the right word for how I felt about it. I am frustrated. This is the at least the second, if not the third time that I've pre-ordered for Freddie Prinze and had it canceled. And I felt bad for Rachel Lee Cook. Maybe I shouldn't. I'm sure she's doing fine in life. But that was my feeling. That was my reaction was, you know what? He really screwed her over, and that's unfortunate.
I mean, Maybe his great grandmother's parrot died or something, and there's a genuine reason for this. But given his track record, it's natural to sort of assume that there's no real good reason for this.
Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea.
Well, Freddie, if you're listening, leave a comment on YouTube or something. Explain yourself.
Yeah, so as a result of all that, my Sunday was really light. I had to go in for the House of the Dragon photo, but I had not a hell of a lot to do. So I argued with those guys and got my hat, my free hat, and then I went. There was this like Dexter experience, and
I saw
I'm
it.
not gonna. Honestly, you'd be thankful you didn't do it. I waited on a line. It was probably like 45 minutes. You go in there. It's like it's this room. It's supposed to simulate a kill room, so everything had plastic over it, so you couldn't really see anything because it was behind plastic. And they put you on a table and they take a kill photo of you on the table, which I guess is kind of cool. So you can take the kill photo and then you walk out and they give you a free gift, and the gift they give you is a Dexter themed disposable poncho. So I guess that makes sense on some level.
See, I have very little interest in those like weird like propped like photos like that. Like sticking your head in a wooden pilgrim, like all that stuff. It doesn't really ever appeal to me.
Sticking your head in a wooden pilgrim. What is the context for that?
You ever go to the pumpkin patches and they have like these like the like cut out like wooden like paintings of like you put your head in
sticking your head in a. I'm thinking you're sticking your head up the pilgrim's ass. I'm like, what are you doing? Or what kind of place are you going to?
Listen, if I was going to stick my head up a pilgrim's ass, it wouldn't be a wooden one. It would be a real life pilgrim.
Yeah. Oh man, I don't even know. And then the other thing that I noticed, and I after the show was over, I was like going on social media and see what was going on about this show, and I have stopped trying, and you've stopped too, trying to make reservations to go to panels or to get to like the Funko booth or anything like that. I've stopped. It ain't ever happening. With the bots and the people, it's crazy. So I do know that people were on the people are so. I don't get it. People wait like 5, 6, 7 hours on the standby line for Funko to try and get the scraps of whatever's left. Like, okay, here's the thing. Let's just say that you wait 7 hours and you're able to get one of the Funkos from the show and you're able to sell it for $100. Now I know you're not going to be able to do that because that's just not how this works. You waited 7 hours to make $100. The hell are you doing? It's not worth it.
You could have worked a shift at McDonald's and made more.
And
probably stolen lunch. Yeah.
I don't understand it, but people were enraged again at how Funko runs the booth. And so honestly, if you are enraged by how Funko runs their booth, number 1, grow up. Number 2, don't buy this garbage, okay? Do not get sucked into the con exclusive, must show up, must stand in line for 12 hours. Don't do it, okay?
Yeah, stop playing the game.
They come onto the market. You can buy them at a quick. If you're paying $10 or $15 or $20 or even $50 over retail, you're saving yourself hours. It makes no sense to stand there.
Yeah.
None of it. None of it makes any sense to me. None of it. It is an extraordinary waste of time to try and flip these things at such low margins. I don't get it. And the people complaining about it and carrying on. But to make matters worse, Funko's POS systems went down. So because the Wi-Fi in the building malfunctioned, and so all the POS went down, all the point of sale, the ability to take credit cards, the ability to ring people out to purchase stuff. So even people who were able to get into the Funko store couldn't check out because Funko couldn't ring their items in, and that was a fiasco that people were complaining about. At the end of the day, I don't really care about it. It is funny. Every year people complain about this, and every year new people come up and don't learn their lesson again. So that's really that. Overall, what did you think of the show?
I think overall, keep in mind I spent most of my time when I wasn't fighting with cosplayers. I spent most of my time in the photo op area. So like I thought the photo op, Epic Photos did a phenomenal job. They really did. I don't have a complaint. Technologically sound. You could hear them. The people that deal with the, directing traffic, both gentlemen I saw did a great job. The people taking pictures, I wasn't blinking in any of them. So, I mean, they did a great job. Yeah, it was all, on that level, all was well. I had one conflict, and it was typically, as we talked about, you don't really worry about the conflicts. But the two I had that were conflicting were two low-selling photo ops. It was Kate Siegel and Once Upon a Time. So in that regard, I was a little concerned because I knew there was a chance you could miss one if you played it wrong. And I like asked one of the black shirts, which means they weren't a volunteer. I asked them probably 20 minutes earlier, and he actually came up to me while I was on one of the lines to check on me and make sure that I was still that I still needed both. And he like waited for me to get done with the one so he could personally walk me to the other line. He told me to come right out the front so I didn't have to go around the back and risk missing it. He went above and beyond. I didn't miss either photo. I thanked him a couple of times because honestly, he didn't have to do all that. And so that was great. I actually got to walk around the show floor more than I normally do. And
they suckered you and you bought something.
I bought something. I couldn't believe it. I stumbled onto the NECA booth, and I am a NECA fan. I am. I shouldn't be. They're expensive. They're hard to display because of that little like the front window that closes with the Velcro. But I like them. I like them a lot. And they had a Kevin Eastman from the Ninja Turtle movie. He's the creator of the Ninja Turtles, and he apparently, as a kid, I didn't realize I don't know who the hell he was, but he was apparently a garbage man in that movie. He had a cameo, a Stan Lee-esque cameo, and they made a NECA of Kevin Eastman as the garbage man. Which, I mean, it sounds who the hell needs that as a figure from the garbage man from the movie that was in it for probably 30 seconds. But Kevin Eastman does cons. I loved Ninja Turtles as a kid. I collect Ninja Turtle stuff now that I can get signed. So to me, it was a no-brainer. I bought one of those, and I'll probably throw it in my crate for Rhode Island. I know he usually comes up there. I'm not sure if they usually announce it or not, but I'll do some research if he's doing anything. But one day I'll get it signed. You didn't buy anything?
This is the first time in the history of my going to NYCC where I didn't buy anything.
I'll be honest. Beyond the like that NECA booth, I thought the vendor selection, I thought it sucked. I really did.
It's getting worse. You know what it is? The everything is all about. I think that the stuff that's attracting people now is stuff that I'm not interested in. I think part of every. Yeah, I was thinking about this. I was sort of having these existential life crisis moments. But I'm wondering if this hobby is sort of passing me by. There was stuff that I just wasn't that interested in. It was weird because for the photo ops and autographs, this lineup was about as good as any show I've ever been to, as far as people who I needed or I thought I needed. But the rest of the show was so unappealing to me that I didn't know what to do on the con floor. I didn't know what to do. I just kind of looked around. And there was not even in the past. There's been a temptation to pull out my wallet, and I've often resisted, and sometimes I haven't resisted. But this show, there wasn't even a temptation. I never even felt like that urge where you have to just put it away and make a reason not to do it. Kind of a weird thing. Did you know this time around that McDonald's had a truck giving out free sandwiches?
I did. I saw it. I never saw the actual truck. And then at that point, when I'd leave the show, I had a feeling it was already too late. And I also had a feeling I really wanted to catch that next train. So I had to really hoof it back to Grand Central.
Yeah, they were giving out the new chicken Big Macs. They was giving them out. Yeah,
I was annoyed about that.
I didn't get one because I didn't want to wait in the line, and also because it looks kind of gross, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I guess for the sake of my diet, I'm glad I didn't get one. And the other thing the thing that we missed, which I mean, we wouldn't have had time to do it anyway, but from what I was seeing from people I follow, Tom Hardy attended that Venom event. It was like a panel. They may have screened the movie. I don't believe they did. I think it was just a panel. But Hardy was there, and from what people I follow said, he basically like sat down on the stage for around an hour, I heard, and he just wrecked. He signed, he took selfies, he completely like took care of, I guess, pretty much anyone and everyone. And
that's kind of wild.
Cool. Yeah.
Kind of wild. That's rare that happened. I remember years ago, the panels were small enough that you used to be able to go in and get whoever was in there. So I mean, years ago, like I went into a panel that had like Corbin Burnson and Frankie Muniz promoting some stupid movie that was never released. and they just hung out afterwards on the floor, and everyone could get them. They like that was the way panels used to be. Nowadays, panels aren't like that anymore.
Yeah.
So for Tom Hardy to do that was unusual.
And props to the people that had that instinct to spend all that time waiting to get into that panel, because you didn't just walk up and get a good spot. They put hours into doing that.
And here's the truth: someone could have told me Tom Hardy was going to do that. I still wouldn't have gone to the panel.
I would have been tempted to, but I don't think I would have had the time. I wouldn't have had the flexibility.
Yeah, that's the thing. These things they get announced. He was never announced in advance. They get announced at the last possible second. You can't make time, so it didn't happen.
Yep.
So yeah, overall, I mean, I go at the end. I'm not gonna lie. At the end of this show, I was like, I just don't want to go to the show next year. I don't want to go.
With the date, you might have a chance. I mean,
the date's very tricky next year, so I don't know if anyone noticed, but they've moved it for the past 2 years. The show was after Columbus Day. Next year, it's back to Columbus Day weekend, and that poses a challenge. And it's harder to take the Thursday, Friday off. It conflicts with other potential events that also run that weekend. It's honestly very frustrating that they've moved it, but it also might signal an opportunity to take a break from this show. The problem is we just got the ability to do the teacher badges, which is a nice thing.
Yeah.
The discount. And we don't have to with the teacher badge, we didn't have to fight with the trying to get the Saturday badge or whatever on that on sale thing. So I'm saying now that I don't want to go next year, but I know come March, April, I'll probably be singing a different tune because it happens every time.
There's no way you're skipping the entire show. I mean, the other thing on our level, obviously it's conflicting with other events now that happen the same weekend. So we got to sort of juggle what we're going to do.
Yeah, it's tough. I just didn't have last year I had a great time. I didn't have the kind of great time that I had last year. I got everything I needed to get, but it's not quite. For those who don't know me that well, there was the year when they had Carrie Fisher and Ian McDermott, and I just pitched a fit on the floor of the con. I was like, I'm done with this. This is not fun for me anymore. And I stopped going. I did stop going for at least a year or two. And
that is fair.
This wasn't at that level. I wasn't feeling those kinds of feelings on Friday, Saturday, but I was close. And some of the stuff makes you crazy being in this con and just being surrounded by these people who just it's tough to be around it. And it would be nice to take a breather from a con like this. So any final thoughts on New York Comic Con?
Nope, I'll see you there next year.
Nah, thanks. So, once again, we've been asking every episode, if you like what you hear, if the information we provided to you is valuable or entertaining, please subscribe. You can subscribe on YouTube. You can subscribe on Spotify. You can subscribe on Apple Podcast. All of those links for those methods to subscribe are in our bio. They're on the Substack. They're on the Facebook post. So please pick one and subscribe to it. And also, if you're listening on Spotify or on Apple Podcasts, please leave a rating on Spotify or a rating and a review on Apple Podcasts. It takes you only a minute, but it helps us out big time in the algorithm. On YouTube, if you can give us thumbs up on our videos, or if you can leave comments, that also is very helpful. So what's coming up for us? We have Chiller Theater this upcoming weekend on Friday, right? What do you got going on at Chiller?
Oh God, too much. I mean, actually, I shouldn't say that. It's not that much, but it's just a lot of it's a lot after New York Comic Con. I have pro ops with the Frog Brothers. I have a pro op I'll have to do with John Cusack because I don't think I'm going to deal with the lines, which I would assume he has lines. I will get a pro op, I suppose, on Mickey Rourke because I don't imagine it's going to be, it's probably just the easiest option. And then I still have to figure out what I'm doing with the Ninja Turtles, the Ninja Turtles from the movie. I have to decide whether I'm going to. I procrastinated long enough that I can't get the figures, so that's, I guess, a good thing. But I do have an 11 by 14 print, which I'll probably get most of them on. But I'm not getting Corey Feldman because I'm not. So it's all just, I have to like convince myself Corey Feldman's dead, like Andre the Giant, and it's okay I don't get him, which is kind of deranged. But I guess I'll do that.
And of
How
course,
about
we're
you?
running. Yeah, well, I mean, honestly, I think I'm going to do Tommy Chong. I think I'm going to do a John Cusack photo, probably undecided on Mickey Rourke. But the big one, of course, we have to run that Barbara Bain signing.
Yes,
this week.
Barbara Bain, Babs, she's coming.
She is getting on the plane from California, all 93 years old. 93 years old. She's gonna make it out. So we're gonna the plan is to see her this weekend, take care of all of our orders, take care of all of our stuff, our inventory. And so we'll be taking care of Barbara Bain this weekend as well. So that's a whole
We
thing.
have we have the prints in hand. They really, really look phenomenal. Like, the idea that this woman's 93 years old. These shows that we have prints from are like 60 years old. And I mean, they look like they would be like, brand new. Like, it's just, they're really sick products. If you're a fan of anything she's done, you're going to be very, very pleased with these products.
Yeah, and after that, in the upcoming weeks, we got Rhode Island coming up. We got Monster Mania Oaks, PA coming up. We got the big event coming up. There's so many things that are on the horizon. So keep checking out our Facebook group. Keep checking out the webpage to see what's new from us. So if you are shopping for autographs, please check out www.markedoutcollectibles.com. Make sure to check out our eBay store at Marked Out Collectibles. You want to contact us for any reason, again, email markedoutcollectibles@gmail.com or join the conversation on the Marked Out Collectibles official Facebook marketplace. We have a couple private signings coming up. Barbara Bain, all items and orders are due October 23rd, and which is this week. Actually, it's 2 days. We also have Paul Heyman. All items and orders are due November 7th. So that wraps up our talk for NYCC. You really think I'm going to go back on my word? I'll be there next year?
You will be there next year. I think you'll figure out some way to be there all 4 days.
You know what? Well, we'll see. But on that note, maybe we can make a bet at some point, and you'll see if you're going to hold me to that promise. So on that note, for markedout.com, Marked Out Collectibles, and Marked Out Radio, I'm Sean.
And I'm Dana.
And we will see you next week.